varieties that are suited to the domestic brewers, like Schooner, and the domestic brewers still like Schooner. And there'll probably be healthy premiums paid by Schooner, for Schooner if anyone grows it, because the domestic brewers like it, but that's only a 250,000 tonne market. And the Australian brewers are quite unique. No other brewing group in Asia brews with liquid sugar, so basically the Australian brewing companies, Lion Nathan and the old CUB, get sugar cane syrup and use that in the brewing process. And if you're going to do that, you need very different varieties than if you're going to use maize or rice as a adjunct in the brewing process.
Let's take a step back and talk about rye. How long has rye been an issue for us farming in the Mallee? Des, where are you, Des? Whitney? On the way here you said 40 years ago, 1974, you thought you'd hit a brick wall with ryegrass at that stage when you were farming, would that be right? So 74, Treflan come out and we started using that. Obviously now 40 years we're now starting to really run out of legs. So what we have to do is this trial we're not just talking about chemical, we're talking about a whole farming.
Yippee, what can replace it, and what are the risks if we do go to a different variety. So just there we've got here this side, okay, pointing that way, that is Mace, okay, that's an AGT line. This is Yippee here, and so if you want to hold up the two plants, just show the difference between the yellow leaf spot difference. So Mace on his left hand, Yippee on his right hand, and you see the difference. So this is Yippee last year, so this is just highlighting that the yellow leaf spot tolerance of Mace, and Sophie might go in a bit about more about Mace, but it just shows you that varieties aren't varieties, there's different traits for each one you choose. So, well, how over to Sevy, you can grill Sophie and even Dave Moody here.
Right, well, each harvest does bring about different issues with wheat varieties, and when we started planning for this season, it was one of the great challenges with all clients. What variety of wheat do we want? Or the question was, you know, what characteristics do you want? As Snuffy alluded to, and oh yeah, I do want a hard. And what about sprouting tolerance? Yeah, I do want that too, and I do want the highest yielding. And so it turned out we couldn't grow wheat because none of them ticked all the boxes. Mace in the past probably was perceived as a good wheat on wheat variety, but there's not quite as much wheat on wheat now with more legumes and canola in the rotation. But Sophie, where else would Mace fit really? What's its where does it stand out?
Thanks, Heavy. I guess we're not seeing the wheat on wheat issues like we have in the past, but it's still not sold from top of the yellow leaf spot. We're seeing Yippee stubbles or Scout stubbles from 2 years previous over summering, and we're still getting the shallow leaf spot. So the rules of thumb is roughly 18 months in between a yellow leaf spot's acceptable variety, and we should be in the clear, but we're not seeing that in our Mallee environments given the inoculant levels we're seeing with Yippee. But who knows? We know what a great variety Yippee is in terms of getting set back early on and how it can come to the fore at the end of the season. So for me, visually, there's got to be some sort of yield penalty here, but 9 times out of 10 we don't seem to see it.
For those who don't know him, this is Pete's place. Thanks Pete for getting the gear out. We're just going to have a little bit of a operations focus here for 5 or 10 minutes or so. Talk to Pete about his gear and also to Nick and what's happening in other areas as well. I suppose spreading Pete, 5 to 10 years ago we weren't doing much spreading actually. There's very little done, and increasingly I think most would be now, wouldn't they? There wouldn't be too many who don't plan to spread nitrogen in crop. Most years, probably 8 years out of 10. It seems that spreading is actually becoming a pretty important part of what we do. Pete, just really quickly, maybe just talk about your machine, your spreader, why you went for a linkage machine, what did you have prior to this setup, and can this do variable rate?
Right. No, I think I'll be able to answer them all, hopefully. Initially, when we started to spread urea, we spread it through the 9,000 litre bin with just a spreader bar over the top, and we're doing about 70 feet at a real stretch. And haven't had the tractor hooked up to it, and it seemed to be knocking over a hell of a lot of crop to get what we wanted to do, and not doing enough acres in a day. And I got going Pico in with his little truck with the little 3-ton spreader on one year to give me a hand. And I thought, hell, if he can do it with that, surely we can do it with one of these linkage spreaders. So I did a bit of homework and got hold of that linkage spreader, and holes, we get about 3 tonne in it. And with that tractor on it there, it's fairly light in the front end at 3 tonne, but you get it out. But we're doing 35 k's, or up to 35 k's, spreading 36 metres. And it's bloody terrific how many acres we've done in the road. It runs in the same tracks as the boom spray. They tell me it can be variable rate, just it can be set up with the FM1000, runs back through the monitor it's got on it, and they tell me it's very easy to control. I haven't done that yet and don't know whether I really need to, because while I'm driving it I know where I can bump the rates up and down if I need to.
Yeah, basically what we've done is we've got all the IMI products this year, so that's the Mazathapir, Mazapig, Mazavox, and so on. And we're just checking out how each of these new lines are performing against those particular chemicals, because obviously we're just really not keen to release anything that could go down in the farming system. We're also checking them against several SUs and so on. So I just wanted to highlight one thing in terms of what we're doing, that highlights some of the differences going on. This here, we've applied Atlantis in crop across it. Now, the reason for doing that is obviously just checking tolerance. Now, realise this is research work, so we're not talking about recommending chemicals or anything. We're just looking at the relative levels of tolerance. And what you can see here is you've got 1101, you've got Herald up the back there. You've got 2 of the other tolerant lines there, which are tolerant to Spinnaker and such like, but they're not quite so tolerant to Atlantis. So that's just one of the things to watch out for when stuff is being released. Make sure we're aware of what it's actually tolerant to, what it may go down to, what are the residuals and so on. So, I don't know, just a quick one when we're talking about herbicide tolerance. What do you guys really want out of herbicide tolerant varieties? And talking about all pulses as well, there's a whole heap of stuff in the pipeline. Metribuzin should be coming through in the future, but what would you guys like to see? That's a quick question.
It's good to finish on a good crop note. After this one we'll be just stopping off at Gary's shed, but just as a bit of a start, just like to explain where we are, and just might be the best place to start is talk about, Mark, what's happened over the last 12 months working in with Gary, and give us a bit of idea. So we're on Mark Ryan's farm here today. Could you just give us a bit of a background on what's happened? Thanks, Ducky.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Just a bit of paddock history here. 06, 07, 08, 09, they were all, it was all sown to cereal because we were going through some pretty tough years, so it was under a bit of pressure. And then after getting through those years, Pete was my agronomist, and we decided to throw in some STL to start getting on top of the brome, which wasn't too bad this end of the paddock, but up the other end on the rise on the sand, where it usually seems to thrive, it was getting fairly bad. And then come 2011 we put vetch in, brown manured it, and this year with the arrangement I got with Gary, I'm leasing my farm to Gary and working with him, and for him as well. We put the canola in, so that's brief history on how we got to where we are here today. With
where we finished at the last site talking about predictability after pulses, isn't it? That's the big one. We've identified here 3 years ago that we had a brome problem. So the SDL went in, the Group B there controlled our grass. Last year was a vetch, which was brown manure, so obviously no return out of last year's crop, but just got the predictability this year to put in a, what canola variety have we got? Is this hybrid, is it?
Hybrid Y84.
So a hybrid canola back into this one. Is that working, that Mike?
Yep.
Hybrid canola back in here. And how have we treated that? Obviously it's gone in nice and early, has it?
Mark knows it all. I've been on holiday.
Gone in early. I think another. So timing of sowing, and then what has been the nitrogen strategy? It's on vetch. How have we treated it since it's been sown?
Put SOA on at 70 kilos post sowing, almost straight after. Probably a month. It was probably a month after sowing, and then we put urea on variable rate early July. So we've been lucky with the rains. We got everything washed in each time.
Technology that's coming up, particularly on the machinery side of things, with GPS and recording systems, and there is a lot happening. We'll talk to Matt. Where's Matt Elliott? Talk to Matt Elliott about seeding systems and some things we're doing to plan around the next stage of seeding systems. A lot of us have been no-tilling for 10 years. What are we doing in another 5 years, another 10 years time? We'll talk a bit to Matt Curran as well about the future in planning for business, farm businesses, and also families within farm businesses. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that as well. Rick, where's Rick? Right. We're talking technology. Everyone's been up. You weren't texting me. No, I weren't texting. Why are we looking at technology? We don't have to talk about specifically this bit of gear, but I guess we'll go into it a little. But how will technology play a significant role? And it has, hasn't it, with, say, for example, variable rate application and what's happened there over the last few years?
So the idea of, say, a system like this, which is an NIR, what we call an N sensor or an NIR sensor. Any of you guys had biomass images that we provided for you? John's nodding his head. But basically, this is providing the same sort of information. The difference being is, I'm not going to get too technical because I'll just lose you, is that this will provide you that sort of information at any point in time, and I think the difficulties we have with biomass images from Landsat 7 and now will be Landsat 8 will go up next year, so a new system, is that you're not affected by things like cloud cover.